Hello, 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 and welcome to another one line of code. See my energy go? I hope you have energy today. It's Monday, start of another fantastic week where it's a great day to be a developer working on a team with reasonable adult human beings that are not petty or childish or juvenile in any way. Anyway, hi. I use DB Context Factory. You better believe I do. I sure do. In fact, I just finished, not finished, but I got an MVP of an image viewer project that I wanted to have done for myself with all of these random AI images that I've been generating. Just having an easy way to look through them and then move some to the keep folder, move some to the not really going to keep folder. Um, just having a UI interface for being able to move the image with its prompt text file at the same time with the push of a button was nice. And so I'm using a database to be able to undo the moves. So as soon as you push the I'm keeping this button, it actually moves the project to, not the project, the picture and the prompt file to the unsorted folder to be sorted for later, which eventually will also let me pick the final destination folder. But anyway, so I pretty much push to a database table for my session. Which repository has a Blazor server for inspiration that I can look at? This one does. This one does. So just because I have the logic in a separate class library named shared server does not mean that I am not well, no, this isn't good inspiration, but you can at least see the usage of DB Context Factory and how I am instantiating a DB context within the method that's going to use it. Sometimes we don't even instantiate the DB context, which is why, wait, why are those not implemented? Which is why we are using DB Context Factory, because there may be early outs that we hit before even needing to instantiate a DB context. I don't have a well, so that's been a topic that we've talked about before. And to me, Entity Framework is my repository layer. So my Entity Framework database is my repository layer. I have a DB set of each of my tables that I am interacting with. And I have services that do the go and get this data from this table, transform it, send it to the UI kind of stuff. So my repository layer is a combination of Entity Framework and my services. And I feel like putting anything on top of that would be redundant work. At least the way that I use it. But anyway, as you saw, this is the project that we are doing. And it kind of looks like I accidentally did I double post that? No. I accidentally posted that before Dukasoft. I mean, it's still just an opinion because I have seen the usage of oh. Nice. Nice. Congratulations, Mojo. Mojo just said a pull request I made to the Microsoft Docs got approved. But yeah, EF is basically a repository layer already. But again, kind of opinion if that is actually following the repository pattern. It's an opinion from me, at least, because I don't know enough about the repository pattern to say entity framework is implementing is making my project implement repository pattern. Whoa! Whoa, that was fast, Dukasoft. Dang! You are the best. You're so cool. I wish I could be like you. It kind of sucks that the does the message still show up in this little chat thingy? Or does that say I can't read it? I'm pretty sure it says a message was deleted by the moderator. Excuse me. And the answer is yes, Mojo. Yeah. One-handed ban even. Nice. Dude, that's awesome. But anyway, I want to say hello to everyone by name. So hello Dukasoft, hello Tyrant, hello Mojo. Hello Mojo. Um, hello Scott. And if anyone else spoke that I didn't quite catch yet, did I say hello Tyrant? Cheeky. How many times have you heard it? Way too many, I'm assuming. Um, okay. Um, in today's lesson, we're going to do research for my work project. If Thindle shows up today, we have a pending PR from him. Flame Man. Where he is adding CI to our main branch as well. I don't remember if he said that this actually locks down main. And we need to update our test before before we do this so that the tests don't fail. So he's pretty much trying to force us to do the tests, you know, in that 8 kind of way. But we will look at it, we will accept it, and we will get the tests to work again. They were working before. Whoa, Thendo PR. Hello, Hellraiser. Happy Monday to you. Hellraiser is a fantastic game dev streamer. That's what you do, right? Game dev stream. Stream game dev. I know what you do. Anyway, I know him from, and many of you know him from Irish John's channel and others. He's in that entire community. Does some great streaming. Go into your channel. Whoa, it's a Hellraiser, says Dukasoft. Right, right, right. He does a game called Rogueblight. Jeez. Which is just like it's crack is what it is. You should not be selling this to people, Hellraiser. Amazing looking game, beautiful side scroller, and all the animations, all the goodnesses. Oh, this is Code Rad's game. He's playing. You need to fix me here. Fix me. I'm so out of touch with things and knowing things. Ever. Dang it. You know what? That's probably an easier way. Thank you, Dukasoft. Let's give him a proper shout out with sound clip, which volume is right there. Hello? No? No clip. No clip is turned on. Great. We're going to fall through. But anyway, if you're not following, you can follow up above. I just did. I don't know why I haven't been following yet. Probably because I really haven't been around when you stream. Or I just haven't been notified when you stream because I wasn't following before, but I am now. Okay. Here's the thing. So if you guys remember, I have three different project types side by side. I have Maui. I have a Maui project. I have Blazor Server, which Scott was asking about earlier, and I have Blazor WebAssembly with a hosted API backend. And all three of those projects run side by side. Here's the front end for the Blazor WebAssembly, which again, all of these are just shell of a projects that do the setup for dependency injection for the HTTP client, um, and other weird things like this. But that's all they do. And they all point over to the Blazor UI project, which is in the Blazor UI folder. And this is where the meat of the application is. This is where, or not really the meat, this is more like the skin of the application. The meat is in these libraries here. So they all point to this. There's an issue that I've run into. Are they made scoped? So they would have to be in order to use entity framework, DB context. Because all of my services use the DB context, therefore must at minimum be scoped. They could be transient, but yes. ¿Qué más? So yeah, okay. So what I was trying to get at is let's go to our main page real quick in the UI. Página main, por favor. I'm gonna put in this magical little piece of shiitake mushroom called a select, and I'm just throwing it up here in my hero section. And I'm gonna throw in some options with it, 4 of them. Okay, and we've seen this happen before. There is no issue with it. The side effect is that every single time you instantiate a controller, or like if you're hold on, give me a second. Give me a second to say this right with the visual. If you're using controllers, for example, then every single time you hit an API endpoint, you do all of your DI setup. You do the constructor. And so if we directly injected either in our service, because this thing will instantiate our service for us, which will then instantiate all of the dependencies for that service, every single time you would get a new DB context, no matter what, even if you weren't going to use it in whatever method call you're using. And so that's not bad for small applications like this where there are so few users, it's not going to impact anything. But for massive applications, like even with 2,000 users, let's say, then for every single API call, you're creating a new DB context, even if you're not using DB context. If you use IDB Context Factory, you will only get a DB context whenever you are actually using it. So in my lookup list, only when I instantiate one, only when I ask for one from DB Context Factory will I get one. On top of that, if there is a context that I can already use that is available, then it will grab that. I don't know how that works or anything. That's just stuff that I've heard, but that's what factories are good at, is reusing existing instances and only instantiating new objects when they are needed and used. So I hope that wasn't too convoluted. Kind of seemed a little convoluted. Okay, so here is the main issue. I am going to open or run the app, and because of the way the app is, it starts up on my primary monitor. So I'm going to drag it over here. And you're going to see this combo box that I just added, or select list, or drop down box. I don't know what you want to call it. I don't know if combo box has to be, you can also type in it, but regardless, it's here. And when I click to expand, you can see that the combo box list, the options for that combo box aren't in the window. They're offset somewhere. And like all of the numbers are on this screen and I can see them, but it should be up here. When I collapse it and reopen it, it stays. Usually it comes up here eventually. So there we go. This is what it should look like, but it doesn't. And the other thing that happens with this is when I move the window, the select list, the list of options stays put and does not travel with the window. And I have no idea what the logic is for where the combo box stays. Like, how does it know when to come back to where it's supposed to? So in our current app, and this is all, I believe, an artifact of using a WebView 2 control and having a select list in it. So I'm going to do some research on that. But that's what the issue is. If you look in a browser, the behavior is typically, so let's do the Blazor Wasm version of the app, which I like doing through PowerShell because it's easier to do the hot reload stuff. This is hot reload and also a dance. CD, Finan Man, Wasm, Server, Donnell Watch. Xcoding. Okay, Scott is saying, I personally had an issue loading a list of items with on input event search input. So it reads list of items every input, and when typing fast, it will read a method at the same time, and it gives exceptions like you can't use the same DB context, especially in a Blazor server app. So that is another good reason for using DB Context Factory. For any given method, you're not reusing the same DB context if you instantiate a new one. So in that case, the DB context would already be in use and not available, versus re-grabbing one that isn't in use when you do the type ahead. So I believe that's called type ahead, that functionality there. See if I actually have any on my whatever this is called. I don't even remember what the name of the sub page is. It was called / Blazor component library, maybe? Hey, I remembered. Okay, so the thing that Scott is talking about is while you type, then it's doing a lookup by calling a method. That method uses the database to filter a list and return the values to populate the suggestion list. And when he is typing too fast, then it's trying to do query, 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 query. So there's something else that I would recommend to you then, Scott, as well, is to introduce a debounce. So only do the lookup when the user stops typing for 20 milliseconds, 30 milliseconds, 200 milliseconds. Something that's still pretty imperceivable to us. So like if I typed AR, you can see that it's kind of delayed before it actually filters a list. But if I typed AR code, then it filters the list after I'm done typing and I'm no longer pushing any more keys. Absolutely. So the example for that would be on GitHub. No, not a task delay. It is by using a cancellation token that says when it starts to do this lookup, cancel it. The other half of it is using a timer, a system.timers.timer that has an elapsed of doing the lookup. But if you look on my GitHub / Blazor component library, the type ahead component, I apologize for the mess. Then if you look in typeahead.razor.cs, you will see not selected item changed, selected value, timer dot. Okay, so here it is. Apparently is expanded. Uninitialized, dispose. Yeah, it's on expanded. I really don't know why it's on expanded. We'll have to investigate that. But in any case, it's pretty much whenever the filter value changes. This is so weird. On key up. Or is it on key press? Donkey press. Okay, so yeah, on key press, if you are pushing any button that's not one of our special keys, set is expanded equal to true. That doesn't sound right. Key down. Key press. This is confusing. Excuse me, sir. How did you do this? On key down and on key up, they both do key press. Yeah, they both do key press. Yeah, this is my code that I got from following the weather app demo from .NET Conf 2018, I think. 2019. And I had to watch a video for it where Dan Roth was showing it. This looks right. Yeah, get locations async. And he kind of glosses over the part where he does the debounce, but if you pause the video in the right place, then you'll be able to see it. Here we go. Yeah, so if you look somewhere around this area, you'll see the code for how he implements the debounce for a type ahead. So I kind of used that and then my own logic, and then it got changed a bit over time as I was using it and found better ways to do it. But there is, like, it's essentially whenever the filter value changes that you're using to bind on input. So in your type ahead, you have an at bind event on input. So type ahead input in this case. When type ahead input changes, then you start a timer, and every single time that it changes, you reset the timer back to 0, and then you restart it. So that on every keystroke, you're restarting the timer. The timer is just set up with a timeout or an elapsed time. Suggest this timer is where? Yeah, so 20 milliseconds is what I have it set for. So as soon as the suggest list timer times out, then it does this handle suggest list loaded. Which is not the thing that I want to do. Oh my gosh. Handle. Debounce timer. Oh my gosh, it's this debounce timer. Good grief. Okay, so debounce timer. Whenever the text is changed, stop the timer, wait 20 milliseconds, and then restart the timer somehow, somewhere. Yeah, here it is. Oh my goodness. Okay, so as soon as type ahead input changes, if the timer's running and is not nothing, start it or stop it, then restart it. And when the debounce timer times out, then we'll do handle autocomplete. Oh my goodness, that makes more sense. And then handle autocomplete will be update lists, which will cancel any existing queries to get lookup items, create a new cancellation token source, keep track of the token that's being used, and then use that in the asynchronous requests to get all of the lookup items. And that way, if another request to update the list is being performed, we'll cancel any existing queries, including queries in the database. You can keep passing this token along to the DB context if you use stuff like first or default async, to list async, etc., etc. So yeah, you just keep track of the token that you're using with this cancellation token source. When you do cancellation token source.cancel, then anything that's using that token will get a cancellation request. Just be wary that be wary would this not be possible with a datetime.now in a service? I don't know what you mean. Yes, exactly. So in creating the DB context, in doing the toList async, if it is a process for updating values, I guess. But like the difference between Blazor Server and Blazor WebAssembly is Blazor WebAssembly, you're typically calling an API endpoint to do this database work. And in a lot of cases, it's the hosted API backend that you get with a Blazor WebAssembly project. So when you pass the cancellation token to your service that is using a HTTP request, I believe the default behavior is to throw an exception when the token is canceled for a HTTP request. So that's just something to be wary of. It may give you exceptions when you're putting it in the create DB context async, but that's where you could just as easily the place that you are calling that async method with the cancellation token, wrap that closest to the front in a try catch. And then have the application, whatever backend is doing the work, it's either going to throw an operation canceled exception or a task canceled exception. Excuse me. Didn't mean to cough on you. Sorry. Yeah, this is not a great example because this was among the first components that I tried to create myself. And this is like Blazor in .NET Core 3.0 or 2.2. I can't even remember when I tried doing all of this stuff, but I was using Blazor as soon as it came out. Oh, I loved it so much. Yeah, as many questions as you want. Do I use set parameters async often? I do now. So the only overrides that I knew as part of the lifecycle of a component, because I didn't really look into it, were anything that is protected override. So I completely missed out on all of the public override methods, such as in, where's index.razor.cs? I'm so blind. Just look here. Oh, it doesn't have a .cs. That would be why. So I was always using set parameters async. Here, wait, that is the one that you're asking about, right? Set parameters async. Okay, so my approach to this was use set parameters async, store the previous value, compare the current value of the thing that I care about to the previous value. If it's changing, then store the new value into the previous value and do whatever logic. But there is a, wait, that one is the public override. That's the on after parameters set. On parameters set is what I was thinking of. Protected override on parameters set. Okay, this is what I was thinking of before. This is the one where I would keep track of the original value myself and then update it and blah, blah, blah. But here it's just, is the new value being changed? Or is the value of the thing that I care about being changed? Which I guess is still the same thing. But for me, I'm doing some extra processing when I receive a value for that thing, which is to turn the string version into the enum, or into the enum. But yes, now I do use set parameters async. I used to only use on parameter set. What other overrides do we have? I don't know if there are many. Generate overrides. Should render. Should render is another one that I'm pretty sure I should be using. I use it to get for getting user info. Oh my gosh. I don't know. I mean, it all just depends on whether it's appropriate for your application or not. I don't know that it's really a good or bad thing. It's all in how you use it. Like if you need to get user info anyway. Oh, that actually happens before on initialized? Yeah, I really need to figure out the life cycle then. So set parameters happens before on initialize. That's good. I mean, it makes sense because when you are initialized, then you already have values for your required parameters. Sorry, your required parameters. Although this one isn't a required parameter. But yeah, are you using anything for identity throughout your app? Because you can also use authorize attributes. add attribute authorize in your Razor components. And you have a authentication state cascading parameter. Makes sense. Whoa there. So the metaverse I'm wearing my metaverse shirt. The metaverse team that I'm on is now like, with just how convoluted the term has gotten and how mixed up it is, and now we have like meta Facebook stuff, um, or had. I mean, I guess they're still renamed, so whatever. It's like become just this very confused thing of what does metaverse mean, and it's never been really clearly identified, and so we're kind of not calling it metaverse within our group, at least. It's just virtual technologies, essentially, that we are specifically targeting. So anything to do with the emergence of virtual coin, for example, virtual money, and headsets, VR and AR, and virtual environments, and virtual offices, just anything that has to do with virtual technology. So makes more sense to me. Okay, so I use all of these things like attribute authorize and also authorize view, but sometimes I want to load user data from the cascading parameter authentication state. Yep, so I put it in set parameters async. That's cool. I used to just put those in on initialize, but since since set parameters async happens before on initialize, it seems like a better place to put it. I'm gonna agree with you that it's a pretty good place. Yeah, and again, feel free to ask as many questions as you feel like. Definitely not a bother. If I do just randomly start talking about the most recent thing that I was talking about, it doesn't mean that I'm done with our conversation. It just means that I'm back on this thread because it went async await. So the behavior that I showed before was when you have a drop-down list inside of a MAUI window, inside of a web view control. When you expand it the first time after moving the window, it doesn't quite go where you're expecting it to. And I have no idea what event causes it to pop into the right place, whether it's moving it while the window is open or what, which is what that kind of looked like. And then when it's expanded and you try to drag it, then the list option stays put when you kind of expect it to move with the window. And that's an issue that our app is currently facing that they want fixed before our next release. And our next release is scheduled for next week. And it's like, I personally have a backlog of at least 2 weeks. And now with this, that's another one. But in the web version of this, so this is again the exact same UI except being presented in a browser through a WebAssembly app. When you start moving the browser window, the combo box collapses. So I'm liking that behavior, which is to say, if you start dragging the for us it's the WPF window. If you start dragging the WPF window, collapse any open combo boxes. I don't exactly know how to do that, but that would be the first part of this. That would at least get this thing to follow normal behavior, which is we have the combo box expanded, and then as we drag, it collapses, and then the user has to reopen it. The next issue is going to be getting the combo box to always expand. This is just, it's not even a built-in component, Dukasoft. This is the plain HTML select. Like, if the only thing that I had for this application was Blazor, my Blazor app was just a HTML page, no CSS styling. In fact, let's just do that. I want to prove it to myself before I lie to you. So I'm going to create a new page called new index.razor. And the only thing this is going to have is a select. Oh, probably should have done something like option value. And then is there like a placeholder or something that I can put in there? Anyone that uses Zen coding? Anyway, and then I want 4 of those so that it auto increments these. Okay, I'm going to close you for now. So here's my new index page. This is going to be my starting page. Old page, new. It's just a extension that you can add to Visual Studio where it has, I can't think of what the name of the is it language still? Pug, I think. Anyway, if you're used to writing stuff like Pug, which is element name, so list, class name, stuff, um, maybe an ID, other stuff. And then you go into the next line and here's your content. Oh, I guess li dot item. And then here's your content. Sure. So this is a way that some people really like writing their HTML. Zen coding is like a cross between those. So you can write your HTML using normal CSS selectors, and then when you hit tab, it turns it into HTML elements and then puts the cursor where you kind of expect it to be. Oops, those should be square brackets. So if you know CSS selectors, you know Zen coding. And you can do stuff like I wanted, and so this is the part where there's more advanced syntax that I don't fully know, but like element and then times however many you want will give you that many. I think lipsum times 30, or maybe it's just ipsum, maybe it's lorem. Yeah, there it is. You can do lorem ipsum just by typing lorem times number of words. This looks like more than 30 words, maybe number of sentences. I don't know. I'd be fighting that all the time. Looks useful if you can get used to it. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that there's a way to do placeholders. I don't think that there's any easy way to add values or content, is what I meant to say. Like, I think maybe you could do something like select get a class name like form control control. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was about to do, Scott. You got it. And then add your children options. So the right angle bracket is the one that says these are my direct children, and then I want four of them. But the question is, oh, with ID, but I want value. So value equals dollar sign. That's what it's looking like. Yeah, you got it. So the dollar sign is the thing that puts in numeric numbers, increasing numbers. Awesome. This looks like what I'm doing right now, says Mojo Fawad. So are you coding HTML using Pug or populating a dropdown using JavaScript? I don't do that. No, I use Blazor to populate dropdowns. It's against my religion. No, this is just showing an extension that I like to use called Zen coding. That's all. I don't use it as often, but I do use it quite a bit. What is this JS you speak of? And like for my that image viewer project that I just told you about, actually I can show you. Well, in a second. I had to write JavaScript because there was no way for me to listen to any keyboard click or button click. Nope, keyboard press. Yeah, so that's a good one. I think it's Bang HTML for this. No? Yeah, I don't remember what the if it even has a boilerplate. Hmm. I don't know. Yeah, yeah. I don't know if Zen coding comes with a boilerplate HTML. Hello, Marcus. Holy cow. How are you doing? I hope you are well. There are some issues. So if you're inside of C sharp, it doesn't work the way that you expect it to. So if you say I want a div, then it's like you're in C sharp. So then you're like, all right, give me a text, and now I want to do div. And you can do it. HTML:5. Dang! Too easy. The internet is too easy to use. We need to make it harder or something. Is there a JavaScript method to drop down the select? Good question. Probably. If there is, and that's what I would do to solve my issue, or one of my issues. Did you turn off C sharp highlighting? I sure didn't. I did not. Why would you say that? C sharp highlighting is there. This is purple. This is blue because it's a value variable. Oh, as in the background highlight. Did I actually have to do something special for that? I think that's by default in um, gosh, I don't remember if I manually did that in my settings because it would have been a long time ago that I did because I really did not like it at all. But the setting that you would look for is Razor C sharp transition. Yeah, there's a bunch of these. And so I changed them. I changed some of them. Yeah, Razor Code background apparently is one, but I got rid of the yellow highlight on the. I don't remember if it was on the curly brace or if it was on the code block itself, on the page attribute, on the attribute. Sorry, directive. Man, so many good things to talk about today. So, Marcus, the thing that I'm running into, if you didn't see at the beginning, is when you run Blazor UI inside of a WPF or Maui app, it has this odd behavior for drop down lists that just doesn't work, um, which is sorry, there is nothing at this address. Yeah. There was a, I don't remember what it was. This was a long time ago. So here's my single drop down list with no other anything else. I was going to remove all of the CSS just to prove that it's not any CSS that I imported. So I guess you can do that. Why not? Okay, so I got rid of all the CSS just to prove that there isn't anything special that I'm doing for my drop down lists. When you drop it down and you move the window, the drop down does not move with the window. Further, when you collapse it and re-expand it after moving the window, the drop down doesn't always go to where you're expecting it to. It's like I don't know what tells it to move into the right place. That one looked like it was because I resized and it went into the right place. So 100% it's just normal behavior for Blazor Razor markup when you have when you're using HTML. And I bet you this will be fun to try. Yeah, that was another thing. Don't use the built-in select and roll your own. I was considering that, but I don't have very much time. We're supposed to have our app shipped by next Monday. And I still have some other UI work that I'm working on, like resizing and breakpoint sizing, responsive behavior kind of stuff. Plus a couple, I don't even have any more bugs left. The only thing I have are features that they're wanting. Oh, I guess narrator would be considered a bug since I did partially implement it. It's not working about the way. What about using input select? Good question. I don't know if using the Blazor component input select would have a different um, behavior. Does it need more? Oh, just int. Okay. Hello? I didn't even get my control buttons. Try this again. There we go. Oh, yeah. It's having an issue probably because the input select does need an at bind value, like you're saying. Okay. Well, let's add one of those. Oh my gosh, I can't type. Okay, it would be interesting to see if this behavior is the same for PWA. I don't know why PWA would have a difference, unless you're saying for something like Electron. But if you mean WASM, then I will show you what happens in a browser. So yeah, I just clicked it and it opened up on my other screen. That's what you mean. We can find out. We can find out. Okay, so yeah, even if we're using an input select, that's just a select behind the scenes. And you already found it. I was gonna look for it, I promise, but I was talking about it multiple times. Okay, so this is what it looks like running as a WebAssembly app. Is my WebAssembly app a PWA? It is not. Nope, that's Blazor UI. Try again. Blazor Web. It is. We'll install this as a PWA. I think. Oh, there it is. Okay, so here's the behavior in a regular browser. You drop it down. As soon as you start moving it, it collapses the combo box list. That will solve one of my issues. The other one is still going to be when you move the window and you click on the drop down, it still doesn't show up directly under the combo box, the select element. So, looking at the link that MojoFawa just found for us, select drop-down positioning. That sounds like the same issue. Using a regular select drop-down, I regularly see the drop-down appear in the wrong place. The first, what library is this in? Edge. It's an Edge thing? I also see the drop-downs stay open and remain in the same place on screen when the application window is moved. Ah, WinForms. Using WebView 2. Okay. Yeah. I could read. It's WebView 2. So yes, we are using the WebView 2 control. It's actually a Blazor WebView control, but behind the scenes, it's a WebView 2. Starting position does not seem to be predictable and does not seem to matter if it is generated by JavaScript or not. Open a page, blah, 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 blah. Main window, drag the window, click the drop down, and it's somewhere weird. Yes, exactly this issue. This can be demonstrated using the same WebView 2 app and navigating in the simple fiddle. Zulius, thank you so much for that. This is a feature, guys. It's a gamification feature. Um, oh, you have to use the Fiddle app in order to see this. Oh, I didn't actually install it as a PWA. I forgot. I forgot. Have you tried on blue method to handle the issue and hide the dropdown? What's on blue? I've never seen an on blue. On blur. That will probably be the thing, but that's what I think is not happening. And we can find it out right now. We'll investigate. But gosh. Resizing definitely is one of the things that causes it to move into the right place. So we'll keep that in mind because I can just do a really quick 20 millisecond resize the window vertically and horizontally as you're moving. But what I think is not happening is when you are moving the app via the the title bar, this is not losing focus. And the way that we'll test that is, well, now I can't even get it to open anymore. The way that we'll test that is we will put the on blur on there and then see if on blur gets called when you drag the window. You can use JavaScript to change the focus, but I have to detect the drag window first. So if I'm going to do that anyway, then I'll just see if there's a JavaScript way to collapse the drop down instead of losing focus. Private void handle blur. Console right line. Oh, not console right line. Debug right line. Using system.diagnostics. I'm to blur. Question mark. On blue. On blue. Handle blur. Okay. So we should see in our output down here, we'll put yes, but cancel. In our output, we should see when we get focus, it's way over there, and lose focus, there goes I2 unblur. We just got the blur. So here I could use, I could just use C# to blur as soon as I realize it, but here we go. I have it expanded. Come over here so we can see that we have it expanded. I have it expanded, and now I drag the window, and we did not get a I'm to blur, which tells me that the control still has the focus, and I believe that's what the issue is. So what I could do then is in my UI state, put an event that is on move, that is listened to from main window, or actually from my themable window, which all of my windows inherit from, that will emit the I'm being moved, or title bar was clicked, or something outside of the main UI happened. Either a click, a drag, so here's the behavior that's currently happening. So I just reopened it. I moved the window, and it's still showing up in the same place when I reopen it, until I do something like resize the window. But there have been other times when I've moved the window and it did reopen in the right place. But that's not happening at all. Yeah, exactly. A quick 20-minute. Oh, wait. We can just do. He's making fun of me. We can just do a quick 20-millisecond wiggle to make it work. Reminds me of when Amazon's MMO New World came out and someone found out a weird link between game window and character states, and it turned into an invincibility cheat. They wrote a Python script that basically wiggled the game window by a pixel or two every frame, and the game couldn't handle it. That sounds terrible. So the bottom of that GitHub issue had it close on move, right? Because that is the behavior I'm seeing in browsers. But Marcus did ask a very interesting question that we still haven't investigated, which is, what is the behavior when we install the application as a PWA? Yeah, I don't want to lose the focus because the user might be using a screen reader or keyboard to move the window even. I just don't want to change the focus away from what it was before. Okay, so here it is. This is the application running as a PWA in this Chromium. No. And the reason why is I believe that this is just a browser. And so the browser window does know. I'm also using Window Chrome in the other app. And so it's going to be a lot easier for me to know when I am hit testing or clicking up here. Yeah, so any click that will happen up here will cause this thing to collapse. So I guess the next thing to look for is JavaScript for now. Collapse dropdown. Like block display none. Click listener, display block display none. I don't want to use display none. Because like if we did something like that, that would look like for us. Do I have a UI state in here? I should have a UI state. Public event function of task. Stack blind flow. um, gosh, naming things is hard. Collapse select lists. And the place that I'd put this is inside of my main layout so that it's always listening for it. And then I can target any select lists that are currently rendered on the page and then collapse them somehow. So we have a UI state in our main window is what it would be in my WPF app. Just name it Dukasoft. That's an awesome name. We need to name it something a little bit more specific, like Dukasoft select lists, select Dukasoft lists, Duka select soft lists, something. Anyway, you can see that I am dependency injecting, or not even dependency injecting. When I create a new main page, I'm passing in a UI state. So here, UI state dot. No, you're not doing anything. You're going to invoke it. So two things. We need a method that says public void. Yeah, sure. Collapse all select lists. And these need to be added to the interface so that everyone knows that they exist. Close. Something like that, right? Yes, I actually typed them correctly. I can't believe it. Okay, so this is where we're going to do the listen for the click on the window. And that would be like we have a bunch of ways that we can do it. One of the ways that we could do it is by using the overrides for on. Gosh, isn't there an on move or on window something or other? No, because this is not an actual window. So this is where my research is going to diverge because, again, I'm using WPF, which has different things on window, whereas this is a content page in a Maui application. So that's going to be a little bit harder. What events do we have? Yeah. So because this is not specific to Windows, then main page won't have all of the stuff that I'm looking for. So let's just go ahead and create a WPF app to make this a little bit easier for myself to to troubleshoot. And we've already created a WPF app before in this project. I don't know why I didn't keep it. Did I separate you into folders? I ask this every time. I did not. And there it is. Wait, I saw it. Add existing project. Get me finding man you. Are you already part of the project? Or what? Oh, it's like non-existent. Because the project isn't actually there. That's fun. Okay, just kidding. Add new project. We'll just go through setting up a WPF app to use the WebView 2 control again. You know, because it's fun to do the same thing over and over. Fineman dot whoopif .NET. Is everything else using .NET 6? I think we're using .NET 7. You're going to need fun stuff like shared. Actually, if I do shared client, you'll be fine. Shared localization, which I don't need because we're going to use the UI, which has a reference to shared localization. Boop. Okay. So those two are set up. Let's set up some dependency injection. And I think the way we do this is we do service. We need to do it in the constructor. We will do service provider, new service, service builder of some sort. Service. I'm not going to remember this off the top of my head. Good thing I have a WPF app that uses Blazor already running, even though it's using outdated techniques. Excuse me, what am I trying to create? A service provider. Dude, dude, dude. Ah, here it is. It is a service builder. I need to do service builder first. Dude, did it? Service collection? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's called service builder. Dang it. It's not called service builder. Service builder is probably the name of our it's the name of our thing. This is equals build. Okay, so it is a service collection, definitely. So yes, Copilot did help out. Zulius is saying, I'd like to ask something that might not be easy to answer, but I'm interested in your honest assessment. You've now spent over 100 days of 2 hours plus of work on this. Clearly a passion project, chat distractions aside. Do you think you would have reached a comparable or even further ahead project state with a more traditional stack plus or minus some features? That's tough because I've always been using Blazor since like 1864. Even before it was dreamed of, I've been using Blazor. Let's see. If I were to do this project using a different stack or project type, I guess, it would have been MVC. And I think I would have struggled a lot with the UI portion of it. I think the amount of work would have shifted from trying to figure out how to get this thing cross platform, because I wouldn't even have those considerations at that point in time. How to get this thing from being cross platform to how do I get my UI elements to work the way that I want them to. Because here I'm doing all of this real time updating as you're picking stuff from drop down list. I'm repopulating lists and displaying information, and we would be doing JavaScript work when doing that, which I wouldn't be super strong at, or maybe I would because I would have had to keep doing it. Who knows? But the point is, I think I would have been further behind if I used MVC. Razor Pages, again, I'm not very familiar with Razor Pages, so it would have been possibly slower, although I would have picked up on it pretty fast. There are some things that I already know about using Razor Pages. So in the long run, putting together the UI was super fast. As far as sketching it out, scaffolding it, getting it to be interactive, that was super easy, and I don't think I'd be able to do it any easier way than with Blazor. The backend logic would probably be the same. I have essentially controllers that are calling services, which is how I would still do it in an MVC app. I love that WPF thing. So I would say building the project would have been slower using the traditional technologies that I'm aware of, that I'm comfortable with using, MVC and Razor Pages. Yeah, I'm getting to that. This is definitely where I wanted to be. Service provider dot. And then I need all of my. Oh, yeah, there are a couple things that I need. So it was just that. We'll get to that. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on to the night. Public eye service collection. iServices provider. Hi, Deflex. Glad to see you are streaming and in full swing of things. Sagat. Oh, but you actually gave me the link for it. We're using .NET 7 now. Dude, we're using .NET 7. And C Sharp 12, 11. Yep, that's exactly where I'm heading, Scott. Service provider equals service, and this is service collection. So I'm just going to call this services. Build. And I think I want to make this static so that I can get to it from anywhere. It is non-nullable. True. Very true. But I am setting it before exiting the constructor right here. Promise. But this is where I do all of my injection. But the one thing that I need first is for this thing to support Blazor WebView. So we change the SDK to sdk.razor. We add the NuGet package for the WebView control. NuGet packages. I can't remember which one it is. Is this thing what the thing that gives it to me? Thank you, Dukasoft. Microsoft ASP.NET Core Components. No, I have pre-release turned on. I would like the not pre-release version, please. You guys are so much more helpful. Okay. So that's two things. What's next? Root namespace, blah, 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 blah. Why are you telling me to change root namespace? I need to have a root namespace in here? I don't remember needing that step. Where's my CS proj? Okay, fine. Root namespace, finan man WPF. Oh, this probably has to do with being able to import. Stuff. Shift F2 because it's the same thing now. Index.html. Give me the template, please. Excuse me. Yes. Row Shift S. Why aren't you saving? Jerk. And in main, we're going to add a namespace, XMLNS, Blazor for our finan man, Blazor UI. And for the Blazor web view, we add, oh, I don't need that. For the Blazor web view, we add namespace. Oh, I guess that's what we're calling, right? We're calling Blazor the Blazor web view, and this is local, which I already have there. So this is actually UI. That's what I meant to say. Lowercase u apparently. We have a grid. We have a Blazor colon Blazor web view. We don't have a Blazor web view. We do have a Blazor web view. Why are you being so mean? Blazor web view does exist with a host. Gosh, it's not going to give me any IntelliSense. Just copy it. Just why not just copy it? So it's probably because I haven't built. You're incorrect. Namespace is fine. Do I have anyone that is not closed or something? The parameter is incorrect. Which one? You're going to be local index or local app. This Blazor UI is where I put my app.razor so that it doesn't matter which Blazor flavor I'm using, which will eventually be Blazor United. I can just use the same UI library no matter what with different dependency injections. Services we need to add in main window, where we go our app. Actually, because of what I'm going to do I need a reference to app? I might need a reference to app. Private application app application.current. Yeah, that's definitely what I'm using for sure. Is that not what it says up here? Microsoft ASP.NET Core Components WebView WPF. Yeah, definitely. And oh, .wpf. No, I didn't. Thank you, Scott. So very helpful. It's because I'm rushing through things like always. Here it is. Kendall's here. You're a little late, but we would have gone through your PR now, but it sounds like we need to have our tests fixed before we can accept your PR anyway. So we will do that. We will do that soonish. Okay, so now it's telling me that app does not exist in fineandman.blazor UI. Fineandman.blazor UI app.razor. Okay, so it should exist. We'll be fine when we get to it. Oh, okay, so we can accept the PR, just don't turn on the workflow until, as a gate, until we get the tests fixed. Okay, cool. UI. That's why. It should be UI. Okay, that's there. Where's main window? What happened to you? No. Okay, no idea what's going on. Everything is broken. Everything is in. Why won't you save? Save. Okay, don't need you open anymore. Don't need you open anymore. Here's index. Here is fineandman.wpf. Good. 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 Load failed. Pretty. Oh, this is item group. What are we up to today? We are exploring another issue that, of course, I am having with my work product. Oh, and also, and I'm trying to recreate the Blazor, a WPF app that uses a Blazor WebView control, just to see it happen once again. The thing that I'm missing are my dependency injections. So I need to services.add state management. Add, what else are we adding in the WASM? So a Maui project, a Maui app using the same Blazor UI is essentially the same as a WASM project using the same UI, which means that it would be communicating back to the API that we use. I'm not going to hook that up yet, but I should be able to steal all of the dependency injections from here, such as in localization. And what was the other one? Client services. Yeah, it does. But there is a really, really good video on, let's say that you have your WASM project and that's where all of your UI is, and a server project next to it, and you're using your WASM project for the Blazor server only, and you use the HTTP context, HTTP client. A quick question: when y'all are working on a team with people using Git, do you fetch and read the code or do you just pool? A lot of times I will pull and see if there are incoming changes to master, because that's the only one that I care about, obviously. So I'll do a fetch and I'll see if there are incoming changes. I'll see if there are any pending PRs or whatever the most recent PRs are, because I would like for my local master to not be broken. And it's possible that the team may allow changes to go into master that are broken. And I keep saying master because that's the name of our main branch, but it's main. And so I will go in and check the PR and see if there's anything that it seems like it would be breaking. And then I will pull master. And then if I'm pretty close to the end of my work in my branch, then I'll merge master into my branch there instead of waiting before I do the PR, so that I can see all the changes and make sure all of my stuff works with that. But yeah, so short answer is most of the time I just do a pull. Sometimes I do a fetch if I'm in the middle of something with massive drastic changes that I need to rely on master not breaking. Did a boo boo and I pushed bad code and I ended up P in RQA. I don't know what P in RQA. Hello, Abdus. I said, damn, surprised you guys didn't catch that. That's because PRs aren't always used the way that they're supposed to be, in a beneficial way, I should say. We're almost done with this setup. Was there anything that we need to do in app.xaml before? Yeah, I need this in main. Oh, I need this in both places. So I need you there. And in main window, but apparently I don't have the C# code behind open for. So I didn't. We're gonna do app dot. Oh, because you should be app. And you should be app. Good grief, man. Okay. There. Now I'm adding the service provider to the resources for my main window so that my Blazor web view can have access to it. What happened to my grid? What happened to my grid? Are we done now? Are we good? Are we set up? Just go. No, you need to set this as start a project. Go. Nani. Wait a sec. ASP.NET Core 8? Are you bleeding edging this? No, I'm using 7. Where did you see 8? I think you have stuff in index.html file that reference non-existent CSS. Good grief. You are absolutely correct. Fixed. Thank you. Yet again. But it still doesn't tell me why the startup project cannot be launched. Verify debug settings for the startup project. No command line arguments. It's starting as a WPF project. We're in debug. Debuild. The parameter is incorrect still. I'm going to close and reopen. Yeah. The answer is you can't. Once you log in, you can never log out. Obviously. Oh, shift escape, please. Oh, yeah. They're 8.0 docs. Okay, we don't need to worry about it. It's fine. Everything's fine. We're fine. Nothing to see here. Okay, did I miss any other chats? I'm sure I did. Thinda was talking to Deflux. Tyrant answered, I almost never use fetch. Don't recover. I'm good. I'm good. I want it to rebuild it from scratch, please. Okay, what do you say? Can I control shift B? Um, I learned that HTTP client injection works differently between Blazor and server, or Blazor server and WASM. That took me 3 freaking hours because the documentation examples are out there are not terribly clear on that. Yeah. The other thing is like because the server app may start on a different port, then you got to make sure to allow cores in your API if you're using a hosted API for your server's address as the origin, server's port, whatever. Um, okay. Okay. Everything is fine. We saw nothing. And there is Nodocs, a shout out for Nodocs, which you can see happening on my screen whenever I open a CS proj or JSON file. So it supports XML, JSON. Yeah. I wanted to set a base address based on the injected class from startup. Turns out that's not possible in WASM. You can set a base address for everything or nothing. I mean, if you instantiate a new HTTP client, so have you heard of typed HTTP clients? That's pretty much just a class that wraps iHTTP or regular HTTP client. It has a property that is a HTTP client, and you instantiate a new one when you ask for an instance of that class from your HTTP client factory. Oh my gosh. Okay, a project output with type library cannot be the startup project. Where, oh, where did my WPF project go? You didn't recover it when it crashed, obviously. Zulia's client. I mean, Zlucian, sorry. I'm looking for one line. Tiny man. Source. You. Whipif. Raj. Set his startup. Build. Ser. Serangi. What you can't do is SP new HTTP client with a base address in there in scoped. Yeah, that's why you use a client factory. Oh, add HTTP client does give you a client factory. Okay. Thank you, Scott. Okay, unable to find the required services. For which thing are we trying to get services for that I forgot to inject? A HTTP client, most likely, now that we're talking about that. No. Service, wait. Excuse me, can you tell me which one exactly we are missing? Oh, at Blazor Wasm. Thank you. I am missing that, aren't I? Something about developer tools? Yeah, that's the one. All right, what do you say now? No, at WPF Blazor, I'll be quiet now. I'm still missing something. WPF Blazor WebView. So far, none of those. Oh, it goes after initialize. It goes after initialize. Crap. Main window. What do you have a bad feeling about? I'm also calling the wrong function. At WPF Blazor WebView. I'm not rushing. You're rushing. Okay. Here is our brand new app. The behavior that we've been looking at this whole time is when you move the window like I just did from that screen over there and expand this drop down. I guess the first one didn't happen. So this is working a little bit better. In a WPF app, when you move the window, it looks like when you re-expand, the drop down does expand in the right place. However, when you move the window, then the drop down stays showing. And so what we came up with is I'm going to try to hook into the window move or even like title bar clicked. You pick from the unattached? Yeah, you definitely can. Yeah. But it's because the normal behavior, and I think this is their solution for how to get around it, is for drop down list in a web browser when you start. This is probably custom rolled. F12. I'm not going to be able to see it, am I? Okay, yeah. When you start moving the window, the select list collapses. And so we were going to mimic that behavior. And so the way that I'm thinking of doing that is I have a UI state that I can get in main window from my service collection, service provider. Oh my gosh, it's so hard to find. WPF would be at the very bottom. So if I said, give me this, or give me nothing, and I said, var UI state equals not await services get required UI state. Then I now have my UI state, and actually I'm going to make this a private because I'm going to need to call it later on. Private read only UI state. UI state. And I'm going to say when my window, yeah, here's drag over, drop. So I have a lot more window events that I can hook into, that I can listen for. And on that specific event is where I can say, hey, UI state, tell everyone to collapse their select lists. Anyone that's listening, tell them to collapse their select lists. So the thing that I really want to find, yeah, I guess the only thing that we really care about is if the window is moving. Because resize, it kind of looked like it'll collapse. And this redraw here is the thing that's causing the option menu to show up in the right place. And for this thing to lose focus. Yeah. Because the size of the Blazor web view is changing. So really it's only on move. So which one of you guys is specifically on window move? On mouse move, on touch move? It's none of those. So it has to be one of these drag. Let's go where? Location changed. Isn't that... Actually, I don't know what location changed is. Lokadaki changed. Is location changed really the window position changed? This isn't something to do with like shell and pages and you're actually changing the page? I don't know, but let's find out. We'll debug right line. Location changed. We have documentation for that. You can just ask the internet. You can ask the internet anything. And we'll say UI state dot notify dot collapse all select lists. Windows location changes when a user moves a window by dragging it, a title bar is moved, drag move is called. Yeah, drag move is probably the one that I would have wanted to call. But now that you say that, what would happen if we had this expanded and then I double clicked on the title bar? I clicked on the. This is really interesting because a regular click on the title bar is causing it to collapse, but a click drag is not. And now a regular click on the title bar is not. Did you not hot reload? Yeah. Okay. Output, location changed because I dragged it over here. Oh, this is not easy to see. Nope, need to restart. Oh wait. No. Help me, I broke apart my insides. Hey, maybe that one did. Oh, we need output. Okay, there it goes. Click. Yeah, there you go. So yes, location change is definitely getting called as soon as I start dragging. Yes, I'm to blur happens when the window, or when the select list actually blurs, which is actually kind of interesting because when I click up here, I was assuming that the blur is what was causing the option list to collapse, but we aren't seeing an I'm to blur when I click on these. The only time we're getting an I'm to blur is when I click somewhere else in the Blazor UI. Hot Reload will work. First party info from a person I know at Microsoft. Hot Reload and .NET 8 will be insanely powerful versus what we have now. I love Hot Reload what we have now, and it's going to get better. That's awesome. Okay, so our last step then is for, in this case, it'll be main layout. Main layout, which is in UI, which is apparently not open. So I'm just gonna, oh yeah, it is, it's right here. Close all tabs. Estapu for now. Blazor UI. Main layout. Okay, so on load, handle property change. We also now have a new event called collapse select list. That we will hook into. And then unhook from. I use Control F5 all the time. Okay, so Thindle is saying what in the VS version coming alongside it, that is, right? So once we update our Visual Studio, that's when Hot Reload will be working better. And then to Dukasoft, it'll support stack frame changes, which is the problem right now. Add variables or class interface definitions, and it explodes right now. Dukasoft is saying, don't get me wrong, I really love Hot Reload. And Thindle says, my main issue with Hot Reload is that F5 and Control F5 is hardwired into my reflexes. And Dukasoft says, I use Control F5. Yeah, most web developers are just stuck on Control F5. Let's run the app, let it stay running in the background, and any changes that we make we'll see live. When you F5, it makes it hard for you to change stuff without getting squiggly marks everywhere. But for desktop apps, you really want to run with F5. And Scott says, I use this one, which is also Control F5. What's a little memory leakage between friends? But yeah, for desktop apps, it is recommended that you use the full debugger, even when you're still modifying code for live reload. Uh, Debug, right line, handling collapse. Oh, you know what though? There's gonna be an issue with this. I'm afraid it's gonna slow down the UI. Unless we do some things to have a debounce or something. Because right now, what's going to happen is for every move, not only are we going to have the location change, but we're going to call handle collapse select lists that many times. Why aren't you? Oh, because I didn't save. So we should see just as many handling collapses as we see location changes. We should see which shift F5? I don't know what shift F5 does. Why aren't we seeing these? Main layout. Oh, wait, no. Is doing collapse select lists dot invoke. So we should hit this. When we drag the window. If it's slow, throw more hardware at the problem. Obviously. Did I not actually tell main window? To call. I did, it's right here. Which is, oh, collapse select list is null. It should not be null. It should have been populated by this. Uh-huh. And so if we shift F12 into that, I mean control F12 into that, and we inspect it, it doesn't really matter as much. It's definitely not transient, but for a WPF app, it doesn't really matter as long as it's not transient, because scoped is pretty much the same as singleton. Since the app run is the session. But regardless, it is scoped. Yeah, definitely not transient. I have had an issue before with having a nullable event. So if I got rid of the nullability on the event and just keep my green squiggly, and then try drag. And we don't need this breakpoint because we have it in here. It's still null. Where are you null? Well, that's not going the way I thought it was going to go. Um, I'm using the exact same pattern I always use for firing events from my state class, listening for those events from my UI, and doing work off of those. For whatever reason, the UI state that I have here, no, it has to be. The UI state that I get here which I can prove to myself, but we need to quit for a minute. And then we'll pick this back up on Wednesday. If I put a sumNum property in my UI state, and I set that sumNum property here, and when I move this, sumNum should be 33. And then when we, oh, I forgot to put the breakpoint on main layout. Oh my gosh, I can't type. Then this here should also be 33. It's not going to let me inspect. 0. This UI state is a different UI state than the one I got in main window. Or we haven't gotten here yet. Which one happens first? Define micro. Yeah, so this happens first because the window hasn't even shown up yet. And then window shows up. And then this UI state is apparently not the same UI state that I got in my WPF window. Is it because of the order? And so maybe I need to get UI state every single time that I want to use it. That doesn't make sense. It still says 0. It still says null. And some num here is 33. So we're going to have to figure that out on Wednesday. That's going to be it for my time for today. I apologize for the abrupt end. I'm 6 minutes over and I need to get back to work. So let's head on over to the one who actually makes Rogue Blight. Code Red Games, ladies and gentlemen, because I misstated before with Hellraiser. But anyway, thank you for being here, Hellraiser. Thank you, everyone, for being here. If you feel like it, hang out for this raid. I'll be listening in on Code Red's stream, which is either on a break or hasn't started yet. Something. Anyway, that's it for now. Schedule, it's 9 o'clock. Check out the schedule here. Thank you, Dukasoft, for everything that you do for this channel. You're an amazing person. Really, really enjoy having you here. Buckle up, Code Red. Here we come. Yeah, I'll be around-ish, working hard on UI stuff for the rest of the day, trying to figure out that issue that we were just talking about and other things. Feel free to check out the recording of this video, which will be posted to YouTube no sooner than 24 hours after I end the stream. Hey, I got that right this time. And definitely feel free to join our Discord where you can ask questions, post topics of technology and stuff. And yeah, I unused raid. Your mom unused raid. Oh man, I did click the X on that little dialogue window. Anyway, raid is set up again. So I'll just push the button when I'm ready this time instead of letting it count down. But yeah, ciao for now. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I should be streaming on Wednesday. Don't have any plans to interrupt myself. Okay, ciao. My music has been stopped for a while too. Whatever. I can't do the fade out music. So instead, you're just going to see me disappear. Ciao.